Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webcast. Today, we're going to be discussing the topic of harnessing Databricks Genie for smarter data exploration. I'm Aaron, and I'm joined today by my colleague Pedro. We are both data and AI consultants here at Thorogood, and we'll talk you through today's session. Looking at the objectives of today's session, we're going to start off with an introduction to Databricks Genie, what it is, who it's for, and how it can provide value to your business. After this, we're going to take a look at some of the demonstrations of how to set up a Genie workspace, some of the potential limitations, and some of the methods that we have used with our clients to overcome these limitations and make Genie a useful and impactful tool. Following that, we're going to take a look at how Genie can fit into your enterprise architecture and look at some of the alternative options before finishing up with a little bit about us, who we are, and how we can help. So, an introduction to Databricks Genie. Let's begin by looking at the problem that we're trying to solve. Many business users consistently ask questions about their company's data. For example, business analysts often need quick insights into things such as sales trends, customer behaviors, or churn rates. Executives want to see high-level KPIs and trends without having to wait for reports, and operations teams need up-to-date data on inventory logistics and suppliers. The issue we have is that data is often locked behind technical interfaces or requires SQL expertise. There is a heavy reliance on data analysts or data engineers for even simple queries. There are long delays to get dashboards or reports updated, and difficulty accessing insights across multiple sources. The results of this are ultimately that decisions get delayed due to bottlenecks, self-service users get frustrated, data teams feel overwhelmed with repetitive requests, and ultimately, you miss out on business opportunities that depend on fast, flexible insights. To try and overcome these problems, Databricks have released Genie. Databricks Genie, or AI/BI Genie, is an AI-powered natural language interface built into the Databricks ecosystem that enables business users to query, explore, and visualize enterprise data using plain English without the need for coding or technical expertise. Genie has a conversational interface, which allows users to ask questions of their data directly. It can provide visualizations, such as automatically generating charts and graphs. Genie enhances its workspace-specific contextual awareness by utilizing metadata. It improves over time by incorporating user feedback, and it sits on top of your Unity catalog. This means that it provides secure, governed access to trusted, curated data. It ensures that users only work with authorized and compliant datasets, providing peace of mind that the wrong data will not be accessed by the wrong people. Taking a bit of a deeper dive into the technology, we're going to walk through a quick flow diagram of how Genie works. Firstly, business users ask questions in plain English with no need for code, such as, show me monthly sales by product line. Genie then leverages Unity Catalog to understand what data is available, including schemas, tables, relationships, and governance rules, before then translating the user's intent into an optimized SQL query, applying best practices such as proper filters, joins, aggregations, while staying aligned with data access permissions. The generated query runs securely within the Databricks Lakehouse, and the results are returned as visual summaries or tables, enabling users to explore follow-up questions, drill downs, or refinements directly in the interface. However, in reality, it's never that easy, especially when you're dealing with the complex, messy, and often fragmented nature of enterprise data. Here are just a few considerations to bear in mind when using Genie. Genie is intelligent, but it's not magic. Genie uses sophisticated large language models that are trained to understand and generate text. These large language models are probabilistic, not deterministic. They work by analyzing all available content, like your question, the metadata, past queries, and even patterns in enterprise data, and then return the most likely correct result. This can result in some really impressive results. However, if the model does not have enough information, it may struggle to answer or produce incorrect results. This is why, especially in early development, Genie needs expert review from people who understand both the data, the SQL code generated, and the data to be able to know whether the model is correct and work to further improve the model when it gives incorrect results. Understanding this can be critical to success, as it enables developers to better understand the tool's strengths and limitations, leading to a better performing tool in the long run. Genie develops in structured stages, moving from initial setup to wide-scale rollout, with each phase bringing specific goals, user groups, and evolving capabilities. By understanding how Genie's development unfolds across data readiness, user personas, surface capabilities, and governance, organizations can accelerate value and build confidence in its adoption. These are not concrete rules that you must follow, but they provide a solid framework to improve Genie use cases over time, increasing the maturity, ability, and confidence of the tools across these stages. We start with the initial setup, followed by the development phase, early adoption, and then finally wider rollout. Going into a bit more detail, during the initial setup, the development focus is on the minimal system setup across 3 to 5 Unity catalog tables. At this stage, Genie is capable of basic natural language queries. However, can struggle with nuanced business-specific queries, such as asking about specific KPIs that are not defined in your data or prompts. And Genie may also suffer from limited understanding of complex relationships across your dataset. For example, if columns have different names across different tables. The primary audience should be technical users, such as data professionals or data analysts. These people should have an understanding of both the data and the generated SQL code, so that they can verify the answer generated to ensure that Genie is correct and flag any issues. These technical users can interact with Genie via the Databricks interface, and no exposure should be given to non-technical or business users at this point. This is because at this stage, any incorrect answers may not be flagged by business users or may cause users to lose trust in the tool, but before it's even being given a chance to develop. At this stage, the key considerations would be potentially limited results and breadth of insights, lack of full business context or domain understanding, and because we're at the early stage of testing, expectations should be managed about Genie's capabilities. During development, focus should be on enhancing metadata setup. This includes providing information about the tables and the columns used, such as values are provided in dollars. Developers should focus on data engineering that will make the data easier to understand, such as unpivoting data tables and adding primary and foreign keys. Also, prompt engineering and building trusted assets can help Genie understand your business-specific questions for your business-specific data. This will result in an improved performance over the initial setup, with better inference and pattern recognition across queries and the ability to understand and handle more complex queries. There may still be the occasional inconsistency or gap, however, depending on the size and the complexity of your data. This is what we need to iron out as we improve the model and it increases in maturity. At this stage, the primary audience would still be technical users, data professionals, and data analysts. Users' interaction would mostly stay the same, with users interacting with Genie via the Databricks interface, and still no exposure should be given to non-technical users for the same reasons given earlier. Some key considerations at this point are potential trust issues developing around the product. As explained earlier, Genie is only good as the content available to it. Users must be aware that the AI answers may not always be right, but careful and thoughtful development can look to limit these incorrect answers. Users may notice limited adaptability to shifting requirements, knowledge gaps around specific domains, and possible hallucinations may occur, where the model infers a relationship which is not correct. Thankfully, all of these can actually be beneficial, as they indicate key areas where Genie may need a little bit more help, and these can help develop future development work. In the early adoption, focus remains on further enhancing your metadata, prompt quality, and trusted assets, guided by your earlier testing. Genie outputs can be refined based on early feedback through additional instructions, and developers should look to start prepping the foundational elements for non-technical users. The capabilities at this stage are that Genie demonstrates solid understanding of core data, key terms, and business-specific language. Genie is able to handle more complex questions and terminology, however, still requires careful monitoring, especially for edge cases. The primary audience would still be technical users. However, at this stage, you can start to roll Genie out to a small group of non-technical business users who have strong domain knowledge to see how they interact with the tool, frequent questions they might ask, and any issues that they've been having. As always, you can interact with Genie through the Databricks platform. However, at this stage, you can also look to integrate with Microsoft Teams or other similar collaboration tools. There's also the option for custom web app using the Genie API and the possibility of exposure through the Databricks apps. At this stage, user experience must be considered. Poor experience of users at this stage may slow or block wider adoption, and there's still the risk that users blindly place their trust in Genie output without proper understanding. This is why it's important to ensure that the early stages of development have been done correctly and thoroughly, with ongoing monitoring needed to manage expectations and trust. Finally, the wider rollout and adoption. Focus at this stage is on development so that Genie can keep up with evolving data and business needs. Regular testing and validation of Genie can help maintain reliability and performance. At this point, Genie should be able to accurately translate from natural language to SQL across complex domains with strong understanding of nuanced business logic, high repeatability, and high consistency in outputs. The primary audience would be technical users and also a broad base of business users and data consumers across departments. There are many ways which users can interact with Genie, such as via the Databricks platform, integration into Teams or other collaboration tools, custom web apps using the Genie API, Databricks apps, self-service interfaces, or even the potential to use Genie with agentic or autonomous frameworks. The key considerations of a wider rollout of Genie are the ongoing maintenance of Unity Catalog and governance structures. Ensuring governance within the Unity Catalog will ensure governance within the Genie workspaces. A smooth onboarding process and user training can help tackle any potential user concerns and highlight to people the potential abilities and limitations of the product, maximizing correct utilization and adoption. Other considerations include managing system or table limitations at scale. It is currently recommended that Genie only uses a maximum of 5 tables per workspace. This may change in the future as Databricks are currently innovating quickly. However, at this stage, this can be managed through designing domain-specific Genie workspaces for different users. Over-reliance on Genie outputs without proper human oversight and monitoring and addressing data drift over time are also some of the key considerations to have at this point. So, I'll now pass you over to my colleague Pedro, who will walk you through some demonstrations of the things we've talked about so far.
Jumping into our Databricks interface here, this is the dataset we're going to be using. So we are in our Unity catalog here for the Genie dataset we're going to be using. It's composed of an item, sales, store, and timetable. So just a regular simplified version of a sales dataset you might find in the real world. And to begin using Genie, we're going to jump into this Genie tab here under the SQL category, and we can create this button here to create a new dataset. So we can look for the dataset we're looking for. So it's going to be this one, and it will ask us which columns we want to use. So in this case, we're going to select all of them, and we'll create our Genie dataset. At this point, our Genie dataset is created, and we can begin asking Genie some basic questions. So if we ask Genie to give us our total sales units, for example, it'll transform our question into a SQL query, and it'll give us the context of what it's doing as well. You can also always check the query that Genie is using. So for example, this is the query and this is our result. So this looks good. Another, a little bit more complicated question is, what are the total sales units for each store, for example? So this will take the first question and separate them by store. So a little bit more complicated query that has a join in it. So it's using more than one table. So sales and store here. And this is our query. And this is our result. So he gave us a list of each store and their sales and also a bar chart here. But we might find that this is a little bit too difficult. So I think a horizontal bar chart might be easier to understand. So I'm going to ask Genie to change this to a horizontal bar chart. So Genie conversations are not one-off questions. It gets context for each question, and it'll know that I mean to transform this bar chart into a horizontal one. This looks a little bit better, but I still think it's a little bit hard to understand. So I might only ask for the top 10 stores, for example. This will make it easier to understand and also give me more relevant results for my analysis. As always, we can check the SQL query, and as you can see, the queries are getting a little bit more complex for each question we ask here. And there we go. These are our top 10 stores. The graph is a lot easier to read, and I can have useful information. So at this point, with a basic setup, we can ask Genie basic questions, and we'll be able to answer no problem. But what if our data has some quirks or some business-specific context that Genie might not have the answer to? For example, I know that my store level data doesn't have country data in it. It only has county and region. So if I ask Genie for our sales in England, it might not be able to answer, or it might give us incorrect or unreliable information because it doesn't have the context that we don't have country level data in it. So it gave us an answer, but this answer might be incorrect or missing some context. So without the proper context, Genie might not be able to get all the data we need. So it's trying to look for an answer, but without the proper context, this answer wouldn't be able to be trusted because, again, no context for the question. Another quirk in our data set is that for the item table here, our item size is actually measured in weight. So if I knew more or less how much shipping costs based on weight moved, and I ask Genie that, it won't know how much our cost estimates are, and it also won't know that our item data set has weight related data. So it actually says that we don't have weight level data, even though I know that it does, but Genie doesn't have the context it needs. And another thing that's based on context is, for example, in my organization, Platinum Partners might be the top 10 stores in sales volume. So if I ask Genie to show me Platinum Partner sales without giving the context of what Platinum Partners are to my organization, Genie might not have that information. For example, it doesn't have information about partner or their statuses. So as you can see, a basic setup is good for basic questions, but there are potential limitations. So firstly, poor data quality for natural language queries. So if our data is not Genie friendly, it might not be able to understand our data. So we have to make sure that our data engineering is on point. Weak results due to lack of prompt engineering might also make for weak results. Limited learning due to no example queries. So Genie might not have queries to work on top of. So it might have limited learning and also limited results. There might be semantic gaps in our data. So this means information that is not there based on just the data set itself and in its context. There might not be any context on business-specific logic or our KPIs. Thankfully, we do have solutions for each of those problems. Poor data quality can always be resolved by data engineering. Weak results due to lack of prompt engineering. We can add prompts for that, so Genie has all the context it needs. Limited learning due to no example queries in Genie. As you see later on, we can add example queries, so Genie can build on top of those and we can get more accurate and reliable results. And for semantic gaps and no context on business logics or KPIs, we can provide context-specific details, such as the details on the quirks of our data set. And there's always benchmark and testing, which enables Genie to work better and increases our confidence in it as well. Jumping back into Genie here, we are now going to go into how we can improve our Genie workspace. I'm going to jump into another Genie workspace that I've worked on before and I've done some improvements. First thing is the data. If you go into any data set here, we can add descriptions for our columns. So this basically means what the columns mean. And we can also add key suites. So it knows what the relationships between the columns are better, and it'll be able to make queries across multiple tables a lot easier and more reliably. If you go into the instructions tab here, we can give Genie business or data per level information. So for example, as I mentioned before, each region in our data set corresponds to a country, and I have just listed all the countries and regions here. I have given Genie the information about our platinum partners. So platinum partners are top 10 stores with the most sales. We can say that average shipping cost might be £2.50 per kilogram, and also item size is measured in weight. So if I go back to some of the questions that Genie wasn't able to answer correctly before, I can ask Genie for sales in Scotland. And now with the context that I given Genie, it'll be able to answer a lot more reliably. So now it gives us the total sales for each store located in the specific regions of Scotland that I mentioned here. And there we go. It gave us our answer. If we ask again for estimation on shipping costs based on weight, it now has the information that we do have weight level data, and also we have given it the estimation it needs to do this calculation. And now it'll use our sales and item tables to make this calculation. So this will be our estimated shipping cost based on the context we gave Genie. And now that it has all the platinum partners information, we can ask for the platinum partner sales again. And now it knows that those are the top 10 stores by sales volumes, and it'll give us back the answer we need. So there we go. These are our top 10 stores, our platinum partners. Another thing I mentioned was the trusted assets. So this is a query I created to give us week over week sales for our platinum partners. This is a query I know works. So we can add this to our Genie workspace to make sure that Genie knows how to do this calculation. And any question that involves this kind of data, Genie can build on top of. So I actually might want to know how to show me week over week sales for top 5 platinum partners. So those would be the top 5 stores basically. So now that it has this query that I know works, it can build on top of this and give us the correct answer every time. So now it's using our query and it's filtering for the top 5 stores. So this is how Genie can learn on top of your trusted assets. Now it's giving me a nice graph here of week over week sales for our top 5 stores. Another thing Genie can do is testing and benchmarking. So anytime you ask Genie a question, it'll ask if your answer is correct. If you're confident that Genie has gotten the answer right, you can say that it has, so it'll learn from this. And anytime someone asks a question like this, Genie will know that this is a correct answer. If not, you can ask Genie to fix it. You can give it some context so that values look off, it's missing columns, it is the wrong visualization, or Genie might have made up a definition. And you can also write up some context. And then you can submit and try again so that Genie can fix your answer, and maybe it'll get it right next time, and you can mark it as correct, and then it'll learn from your review. If you're not sure if the answer is correct or not, you can also ask for review. So you can add a comment here, and then your Genie Space admin will get a notification and check it out to see if Genie got the answer correct. And if so, you can move on, and Genie will learn from that interaction as well. So this is how we can mature a Genie workspace to make sure it works better. I'm now gonna hand it off back to Aaron.
Thank you, Pedro. So now we'll briefly talk about the architecture and the competitive landscape for Genie before finishing up with a little bit about us and our expertise. So Genie is evolving fast, with many new features being added and many more to come in the near future. To put this into perspective, we've created a brief timeline of advances in AI, starting with the publishing of ChatGPT back in November 2022, all the way through to present day and beyond. Since the release of ChatGPT and subsequently GPT 4.0 the following year, the AI space has been progressing quickly, with innovations from technology vendors who are looking to keep up with current innovation and allow customers to easily adopt AI within their company. When Genie originally came out in 2024, the only way to interact with Genie was through the Databricks platform. Since then, we've seen the introduction of Genie APIs and the integration with Microsoft. We've also seen Databricks improve the large language model behind Genie to provide suggested follow-up questions. More recently, users now have the ability to introduce data that sits outside of their Unity catalog, such as Excel files. However, this feature is currently only available in public preview. With each step of innovation, we're not only seeing Genie's capabilities improve, but we're also seeing an improvement in how companies can integrate Genie across their organization and how they can work to improve their data democratization. Here you can see a view of a traditional modern data platform implementation that is grounded in Databricks and Azure tooling. You can see the use of Unity Catalog within Databricks to ensure that the data is properly stored within the Databricks platform. In a traditional platform, the business analyst toolkit would be focused on Power BI or Tableau, reporting and visualization tools, allowing users to interact and investigate their data. If this organization were to introduce Genie, it would sit alongside these traditional reporting methods, allowing users to ask questions of their data and investigate their data through the means of natural language querying. The success of integrating Databricks Genie depends on a few things. The first being the implementation of Unity Catalog throughout your data. The second being an architecture grounded in Databricks. And lastly, most importantly, your organization having a robust data platform with curated gold level datasets prepared to be used in a self-service manner. This is something that Thorogood can help with. Organizations looking to implement insight generation throughout their enterprise architecture should consider or weigh up the benefits of both out-of-the-box solutions like Databricks Genie or more custom-made solutions. This decision should take into consideration your organization's enterprise architecture, the audience of the specific solution, and the business case that needs to be solved. We realize that not all organizations are grounded in Databricks or have the same needs as the sample shown on the previous slide. Due to this, we wanted to call out some of the additional out-of-the-box solutions that are being offered by other technology vendors. Microsoft Copilot brings AI directly into Excel and Power BI, letting users ask questions in plain language and getting instant insights, no coding or complex formula needed. Fabric AI powers end-to-end business analytics in Microsoft Fabric. It unifies data across the stack and uses AI to help everyone, from analysts to business users. No coding or complex formulas needed. Cortex AI unlocks hidden knowledge in unstructured content. It uses AI to auto-tag, organize, and extract insights from documents and communications, making enterprise knowledge instantly discoverable and usable. There are also many other offerings from other cloud vendors such as Google Cloud Platform and Amazon, which offer the likes of natural language querying and managed large language models. On the other hand, custom-made solutions may work best for more specific business cases and more proprietary data. Solutions could range from web app-based solutions using large language models in the background, all the way through to a fully agentic model specifically tailored to your business needs. This leads us to our final question. How can we at Thorogood help you? Thorogood are a global independent data and AI consultancy. We combine strong business focus, data understanding, and the latest technology expertise to guide you in your end-to-end journey. Our consulting services range from end-to-end data solution delivery and solution design to tool training, data strategy, and roadmaps. From a Genie perspective, we can work with your company to understand your enterprise architecture, how we can apply Genie for insights generation, and any other use cases you may have within your organization. As mentioned, our independency allows us to provide an unbiased, technology-agnostic perspective to our customers. We have deep expertise in Microsoft Azure, AWS, and GCP, allowing us to leverage the best technologies for our clients' unique needs. Coming to the topic of today's webcast, we've partnered with Databricks for a long time, and as such, we've worked with a wide range of customers to deliver enterprise-level data platforms using Databricks. And these platforms have been crucial in further development work, such as harnessing Genie for smarter data exploration. Databricks Genie can be a very powerful and impactful tool, but as highlighted today, there are many potential considerations and development stages to navigate. Here at Thorogood, we can help provide those expertise to maximize the result of Genie for our customers. Thank you all for joining. If you'd like to find out more, please do not hesitate to reach out. Our website and YouTube pages are also filled with content and use cases we've been gathering throughout the years, and I'm sure you'll find something useful. We hope you've enjoyed and learned something today from today's webcast, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.